Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Design to Heal. I'm Whitney, and today I want to talk about what recovery actually looks like. Now, I'm a really visual person, so I kind of want to share a very visual way of breaking down what recovery from chronic anxiety, depression, symptoms, illness, pain, using a mind body approach looks like. We often hear that healing is not linear. And I'm sure you've probably seen somewhere on social media some of these graphs or posts showing like a big scribbly line looping all over the place until you get to your destination of getting out of these chronic symptoms. However, I want to offer another visual way of sharing what the process actually looks like to normalize this and help you move towards accepting the actual process itself. Because I know that recovery can feel very frustrating at times. It can feel very confusing. We can go through periods where we feel stuck. We go through periods where there's more contraction. Then we go through periods where there's more expansion. And I specifically want to talk about on your recovery journey, as you start to move into doing this work, a big part of it is learning how to accept and allow your symptoms. And that is a very tricky thing for people. And it was for me. It is for all of us, especially when symptoms are really loud and really unpleasant. Part of that process is learning how to engage back into your life and to the things that matter to you. This is how neuroplasticity works. What you're focusing on, your brain is going to give you more of. So we get caught in these cycles of chronic conditions because we are actually focusing on the symptoms and the experiences of our symptoms, and we focus on it more and more, and then we get more and more of it. So it's kind of like pouring gasoline on the fire. Part of recovery, no matter what program you're doing, or practices, or tools, or methodology, part of everybody's path towards getting better is learning to focus on their life again, is learning to focus on cultivating more joy and connection and fulfillment and not making your life all about your symptoms. One question I get a lot of the time is, but how am I supposed to focus on other things in my life when the symptoms are so loud? I can't. It's impossible. I can't ignore my symptoms. But here's the thing. You can't ignore your symptoms. You're going to have to learn how to bring them with you and have them be there as you're focusing on other things. And initially, it's very challenging. And there are going to be times where it is exceptionally hard to do that. And that is normal. But there are going to be times where it gets easier and easier. And the more you practice this, it becomes a skill. And you get better and better at doing that. And it's going to oscillate. There's going to be times where it's more challenging to focus on other things in your life with the symptoms there. And then there's going to be times where it's maybe less challenging and it's easier. Or maybe you even get breaks from your symptoms. And so you're able to be fully present. But it is important to learn this skill. This is something I still work on in my recovery every single day. And it's something that I know is needed to recover. So what does this actually look like from a visual standpoint? I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to share an analogy. My hand is the symptom, okay? These are the symptoms. This could be pain. This could be anxiety. This could be intrusive thoughts. This could be depression. This could be any sensation in your body. It could be fatigue. It could be neurological symptoms, anything, okay? My hand is the symptom or symptoms. Maybe there's multiple happening all at once. We have a whole menu of them right here. Okay, so as you are living with the symptoms, they are in your face, right? You cannot see anything else in your life because they are so loud and your focus has become so zeroed in on them that it feels impossible to see anything else. But this is the lie, okay? You can see other things in your life, but you have to just build the muscle to be able to do that again. So what that looks like in the beginning is this, okay? Your symptoms are here and you are doing your best to focus on something else. It could be a show. It could be a conversation with somebody. It could be going and sitting outside and being with nature. It could be going to a social event. Whatever it is, this is what it's going to feel like. It is going to feel like so difficult to focus on things around you at times, especially in the beginning when you're not used to doing that. There's going to be times where you're not fully present and the symptom is still in your face and it's really loud. But what you're practicing is refocusing on other things in your life and seeing your environment around you. And the more that you practice this, it starts to change over time. So it maybe starts to become like this. So now I have my symptoms here. I can't ignore them because they're still blocking half of my view. They're still very loud. They're still in my face. And maybe they're kind of doing this, right? There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of change. There's moments where I'm fully blinded by my symptoms because they are so loud. Then I'm able to do this. Then maybe I'm doing this. Then it's back to here. This is all normal for things to be moving like that. And eventually, the more you're engaging in your life and focusing on other things that bring you joy and living by your values, it can start to do this. And maybe there's some of this happening, right? Normal. It's very rare, I should say, that it's going to be like this, done. I'm healed. No. Unfortunately, part of the process of learning and developing these new neural pathways and showing your brain what you actually want it to focus on and bring you more of is going to be a lot of this, okay? It's going to be moving. And if you can accept that, that already is going to make this process less miserable for you. Know that it is normal that there are going to be days where you feel like you cannot focus on anything else or see anything else in your life. And there's going to be days where it's more like this, or moments, or hours, or minutes, okay? And over time, what happens as you're practicing this is it starts to move away and you start to see more and more of your life. You're able to focus on other things and be present for more and more stuff. And you get more and more comfortable with being uncomfortable and having the symptoms there alongside you while you're living your life, okay? And it will just keep moving. But it starts to move this way over time. And eventually it's here. Okay, it's here and it's in the background. And before you know it, one day with a symptom, what recovery often looks like is it's here for a while and maybe it's kind of doing this a little bit, but it's kind of mostly back here as you're living your life, as you're doing more, as you're having more exposure to getting out and focusing on other things. And eventually, one day, you realize it's just gone. The symptom is gone and you didn't even know it left because you got so good at letting it just be there and kind of be in the background. You weren't focusing on it so much. So then when it leaves, you might not even really notice that it left because it just wasn't your main focus anymore. And I know that can feel hard to imagine, but this is truly how it works for most people. I've experienced this and I've talked to probably hundreds of people at this point that experienced it the same way. And they didn't even realize it went away until maybe somebody mentioned it or asked them about it. And then they're realize wait, it's not even over here anymore. It's just gone. Or sometimes you realize it left because it was gone, but then it kind of did sort of come back a little bit. And you're like, oh, I didn't even realize you had been away for a while until you came back. So this is a very good visual representation of what it looks like to heal and recover and focus back on other things in your life while you have symptoms that are really loud and in your face. And a lot of times, then something else will happen like this. This is a new symptom. This is a different symptom. This is the symptom imperative. And it is the same process. Then you have to practice this skill all over again with something new. And a lot of times, the new symptom is going to really be like this because it's unfamiliar to you. You're not used to it. So it's pulling your attention back in because you haven't now been able to practice with this new symptom doing this as well. And there's probably a lot of times with a new symptom, there's more fear, there's more trying to make meaning of it. So it's a little bit harder at first, but it's the same thing. Okay? It's the same thing. It's learning to start looking at your life again and bring it with you as you're focusing on your work or your family or your friends or whatever else you're doing in your life until it's back here. And then maybe it's showing up again. And hey, maybe this one comes back too for a little bit. And you're kind of like, now this is here. And maybe they're both here. And I'm kind of, it's sort of like peekaboo. But this visual representation, this analogy of this is what recovery looks like, really helped me understand what to expect and what is normal and what it can feel like as you are recovering and focusing on your life again and things that bring you joy. I hope this was helpful. I wish that it didn't work this way, to be honest. I think we all do, right? We all wish that recovery was just a straight shot and we get to where we want to go, but it's not. And the sooner you can accept that, the more you are going to soften and surrender. And that's part of the process of accepting and surrendering and allowing to is accepting and allowing the process to be what it is, allowing it to be nonlinear, accepting that it's not, being okay with the fact that there are going to be days where it is very challenging to see anything other than your experience and what you're feeling or experiencing with your thoughts or your emotions. Sometimes it's just going to be here. And then you have to work on letting it be here. Also, getting curious about seeing what else you can also see and focus on while it's there. Rinse and repeat, right? Until it's here. And sometimes it stays here for a while. I think I had, in my experience, there was times where I had a symptom that kind of hung out here for a while. But life was pretty good. I felt like I didn't have any limitations. This was no longer running the show. It just wasn't even a factor in any of my choices, and my life still felt very fulfilling and great. And sometimes it might kind of show up a little bit more, but eventually, the more I practiced letting it be there and focusing on the things that I value and the things that are important to me and bringing in more fun and joy and love and passion and purpose, it inevitably went away. Because what this became, the symptoms here became something else. It became my life. It became my work. It became my relationships. Those things were the things that I would see first and foremost, and that were my primary focus because the symptoms weren't. If you have a limiting belief that you cannot focus on your life because the symptoms are so loud, there's no possible way you can focus on anything else, please remember this. Can you do this? And it is going to feel hard. And it might even be the tiniest crack, but you have to start somewhere. And if all you did today was just this, even for 5, 10, 15 minutes, engage in something else, and then the rest of the day, it felt like all you could do was focus here, that's okay. This is a skill. It's a muscle that you're building, but make sure that every day you keep practicing this more and more and let this widen so that you can start to see more of your life and more of the things that are meaningful to you so that this can eventually go into the background and fade away. That's what recovery looks like. That is how you get better. That is how you allow and bring symptoms with you and focus on other things in your life. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.